Why, hello. My name's Rob Walton, and I know what you're thinking. Where's the cat on his lap? He should have a cat on his lap when he spins around in the chair. But I'm sorry, I couldn't afford a cat for this shoot. As you can see, this is about as amateur as it can get without being Homer Simpson. So, here we go. My name's Rob Walton, and I am here to talk to you about Ragmop, of which I am the author. By now, five people have watched the trailer for Ragmop, The World Needs Laughter. The sequel, the upcoming sequel to Ragmop, A Brief History of Crime. Ragmop, The World Needs Laughter, which will be kickstarted in September. And these five people who have actually endured 60 seconds of my work are now sitting there more confused than probably you are. What did we just watch here? What is this thing? What is Ragmop? The World Needs Laughter. Well, before I tell you about what Ragmop is, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is indeed Rob Walton, as it was a few minutes ago when I spun around in this chair. And I am a 30-year veteran of both the comic book and the animation industry up here in Canada. If you're of that same age, you've no doubt seen my work either in comics or in animation. In animation, you've seen my work in things like Beetlejuice, Dog City, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Clone High. Yes, I was fired from Clone High, a badge of honor that I was fired by future Oscar-winning producers. They were nice guys. I liked them. Don't matter being fired at all. It was fine. I went from that and I went to My Dad the Rock Star, where I had a rockin' good time working on that. Those a little younger will know my work from Backyardigans, and most recently, Max and Ruby, Sidekick, George of the Jungle, Season 2, and of course Ranger Rob, Season 2, which I had a good fun on. As far as comic books go, I've been doing comic books since 1987. I started with this, Pork Knight, This Little Piggy, which was a parody of Frank Miller's Dark Knight, as most comics were in 1987. Pretty much every comic that was published in 1987 was a parody of Dark Knight. A little coda, though, to that is that I did receive a personal little message from Frank Miller himself via Mark Asquith of the Silver Snail comic book shop here in Toronto, that Frank Miller himself thought that this was the best of the parodies because it was actually about something completely different than The Dark Knight. And what this was in fact a parody of not The Dark Knight, but the new universe of the Marvel comics in the 1980s. After that, I also worked on, let me just pull up a few copies here. The Devil's Hammer, Grendel Tales, a story that has traumatized many a child over the years, and something that is far less funny than Pork Knight or Ragmop. But this is some of the artwork that I did for Grendel Tales, a story about revenge and exorcism. And it had lots of spooky stuff. I was very influenced at the time by European graphic novels and the current early crop of manga that was starting to appear in the late 1980s and the early 1990s. I also did another cult little favorite called Bloodlines. Again, a very less funny comic than Pork Knight or Ragmop, and for which I developed a rather distinct and unique style of storytelling. Again, this is kind of an urban fantasy. Before there were urban fantasies, I thought it would be interesting if you take the basic Tolkien plot and you plunk it right down in the inner city. What do you get? Well, for me, we got Bloodlines. Also, I worked with Charles Vess on Ballads and Sagas. I was the saga portion of Ballads and Sagas, and I did Skade, and that's Skade right there. Now, I call her Skade, which is a mispronunciation of the actual name. But because I was young and didn't know how to pronounce the name properly, she became known as Skade, and we just leave it at that. And we accept the fact that, you know, cross-cultural things get mistranslated. But here is some of Charles Vess's beautiful artwork that he did for Skade. And it's a lot more beautiful than my artwork, I admit it. It's Charles Vess. When I wasn't working with Charles Vess, I was working with Dean Motter on The Prisoner. I did many of the pencil breakdowns for this DC graphic novel, my first kind of exposure to mainstream comic books. And there's a page of my breakdowns there with finishes by Dean and colors by David Horning and Richmond Lewis. And from that, I was left with Ragmop. In the 1990s, I created Ragmop, The World Needs Laughter. Not The World Needs Laughter, but the first graphic novel, which is a brief history of time. It's okay. We can leave mistakes in. It's human. We all stumble once in a while. It was nominated for 2 Eisner Awards, nominated for 2 Joe Shuster Awards. And it is a animation-infused comedy, action, adventure romp. And it became, actually, if Seinfeld was known as a show about nothing, Ragmop became known as the comic about everything. I'm going to leave the plot for now. I'm just going to tell you that it was heavily influenced by animation of the early to mid 20th century. Chuck Jones, Bob Clampett, Tex Avery, Robert McKimson. If you can name a top animation director from Warner Brothers or UA, they're probably in here. Even old Fritz is in here. And of course, Hanna-Barbera. I grew up in the 1960s. I absorbed all of Hanna-Barbera's work, and it shows in the graphic novel. The graphic novel is told actually as a straight-ahead Marvel Comics Silver Age style story, and married with the cartoon styles of Warner Brothers and Hanna-Barbera. Which leads us to Ragmop, The World Needs Laughter, the long-awaited, by some, sequel to my first graphic novel. And Ragmop, The World Needs Laughter will be kickstarted in September. Again, it is more animation infused. Let's turn this the right way. There we go. I like these long horizontal panels once in a while, as opposed to the splash page panel. It's nice to kind of work in widescreen. Since I'm a storyboard artist, I'm attracted to the widescreen. But as you can see, here's a little picture. It's not quite a spoiler, but I'm not sure if he made it into the trailer there. But here's, just a couple looks at the artwork. The graphic novel is completely finished and is ready to be just printed and shipped once Kickstarter is over. So anyways, here we are at 9:25. That's plenty time. I mean, most of you probably bailed about 8.5 minutes ago. So if you've made it this far, congratulations! Give yourself a pat on the back. Good God, you should see what we just endured on YouTube. This guy's mental. Ragmop was also featured in 1001 Comics You Must Read Before You Die, or as I like to say, 1001 Comics You Must Read Before We Let You Die. So well received critically. Not so much commercially, but we're going to hope to change that this September with the Kickstarter campaign for the sequel, Ragmop, The World Needs Laughter. And of course, for those who haven't read the first graphic novel, 462 pages, it will also be available as an incentive. But anyways, that's enough for now. We're now at 10:23, and I said I was going to stop this at 8:23, so I've talked on, and so I'm going to click that little red button now, and I will come back and tell you more about Ragmop before you're even ready for it. And maybe I'll even get a cat back, and I'll put my cat on the lap and spin around in the chair like a proper James Bond villain. Okay, thanks very much. Have yourselves a great day, and we'll be talking. Bye.